Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining our onX Hunt deep dive on organizing map content and using folders. We'll get going here in just a couple of minutes. I want to get everybody time to get logged in and get situated. So while we're waiting, just a couple of housekeeping items. Your audio and video are turned off, so we can't see or hear you. So no worries if you have, dogs or kids or something making noise in the background. If you do have a question you'd like me to answer during the class, there's a Q&A feature on most screens, on most devices in Zoom. It's going to be down along the bottom of your screen there. So the Q&A is the best spot to ask questions. There's also a chat box if you want to just hop in there. Just let us know who you are, where you're tuning in. That's what that is kind of for. Questions do tend to get lost in the chat though, so I won't be really monitoring that as much as the Q&A box for those questions. This class is being recorded, so we will send an email to everybody tomorrow with the link to watch the recording that will come about this time tomorrow night on the 24th. And we are doing a giveaway. So we're giving away some onX Hunt hats. Towards the end of the class, I'll post that link for the entry form in the chat so that you can get entered to win, and then we'll draw those winners tomorrow morning and get those hats sent out. All right. So looks like we got a pretty good number of folks in here already. So the idea behind these onX deep dives is that they're a little bit shorter. If you've ever been to one of our regular onX Hunt masterclasses, those typically go an hour, hour and a half. I'm gonna try to have everybody out of here, half hour, 45 minutes, kind of depending on how many questions we get and how many rabbit holes we go down. But we're gonna be a little bit short and to the point today. We're gonna talk about, first off, some different methods for organizing your map content. And when I say map content, primarily what I'm talking about are your waypoints and your tracks, things like that. And then we're going to talk about using folders, and especially our new collaborative folders, which is a brand new feature we recently introduced for this year. Maybe you've seen it and have been using them already. Maybe not. We haven't really talked about them a whole lot yet. But it's been a long time coming to have these, and I think people are really gonna enjoy them. And then, like I said, at the end, we'll save some time for Q&A and the giveaway. So I am going to just stop sharing here quickly to pull up my map. So I am going to be utilizing the onX web map on my computer. You can follow along, if you're watching me on your computer and you can follow along on, your phone, that's a great idea. If you're watching me on your phone and can follow along a computer, that's great as well. So, and just a quick, if you've never utilized the onX web map, it's a great tool, comes with your membership. You just go to our website, which is onxmaps.com. You'll log in there, and then it will take you to a map that looks like this. So I've picked just a spot on the map, just randomly. This is in North Carolina. I've never been there. I'm just utilizing this for the purposes of this class. So you use map content for a lot of different things, whether you're a whitetail hunter, an upland hunter, waterfowl, elk, you name it. For this scenario, we're going to kind of pretend that this is a hunting camp, a whitetail deer hunting camp. So I've already got a waypoint marked where camp is. So I placed this later today. I changed the icon to look like a house. I changed the color and I gave it a name. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly go through and place, some spots where I think we'd want to put some tree stands. Again, this is a little bit of not exactly a real world scenario, but, use your imagination. So I'm going to mark a waypoint. I'm going to use the tree stand icon. So that's kind of the first step towards organizing your content, is what I'm doing right here. And that is customizing your waypoints. That's, in my mind, that's level one. So give it a name. I'm going to name it Jack Stand. My name's Jack, by the way. I don't think I introduced myself at the beginning of the class. So I've got it named, I've got an icon picked. The next step for organization is to use colors. Now, to me, that's one of the most underutilized features of the app is customizing your waypoint colors. And if you've been to an onX Hunt 101, you've heard me give this spiel before, so I apologize if this is, a bit of remedial information for you, but it bears repeating. You can choose you choose your own system for how you color code your waypoints. It really depends, maybe where you live, what you hunt, how you like to hunt. Personally, I'm located in Missoula, Montana, where onX is based. Blessed to live in a state that allows me to hunt, a handful of different big game species every year, upland birds, waterfowl, small game. So personally, on my personal account, I color code my waypoints by species. So if you were to look at my personal account, all of my deer waypoints are this standard default kind of reddish orange color. My bear spots, I make blue. My turkey spots are this kind of turquoise-ish light blue color. Green is for waterfowl. This purple is for pronghorn. I tried to do alliteration as much as I can, and I ran out after like 3 options. My elk spots are brown, upland spots are yellow. So that's what I do personally. Part of that is because I'm such a generalist hunter. It helps me when I look at my map to know yellow, those are upland spots. Orange, those are deer spots. Green, those are waterfowl spots. Brown, those are elk spots. If you're you hunt whitetails and that's what you do, you don't really hunt anything else, I would do things differently. In this instance where I'm kind of setting up a whitetail property, I'm going to choose different colors for different to mean different things. So my camp here, that's white. I'm only going to use white for maybe camp or where I parked a vehicle. For tree stands, let's use blue for tree stands. So all of my tree stands are going to be blue. That looks like a pretty good spot. I can shoot this field. Maybe I want one over here so that, depending on the wind, I have a couple of options to hunt this field no matter what the wind is doing. Again, I'm going to name this Jack's Stand 2. Change the icon, change the color. Let's say I've done some scouting and, maybe the deer are, let's go over to this state land here. Maybe I know that they like to bed. I'm looking at the imagery here and there's a little bit of difference in vegetation here. Maybe they like to bed in some of this thicker stuff. So I'm going to add a waypoint. I'm going to change the icon to bedding area. And bedding areas, I'm going to make green. Great. I forgot to give it a name. No matter. I can go back and name it. Let's put a couple more in here. We got a small field here. Maybe this field, there's just not a lot of great trees, but it's prime location for a ground blind. I'm going to use the ground blind icon. And ground blinds, what color should we use? Let's use purple for ground blinds. Again, forgot to name it. I'm going too fast. Let's say my dad likes to hunt out of a ground blind. This is his spot, dad's blind. Great. As you add more and more waypoints in here, you kind of get the feeling that if I had 50 waypoints in this view and they were all red X's, it'd be really hard to keep track of. So as you're marking these waypoints, it does take a little bit of work, but I just placed 4 waypoints, in the matter of 4 minutes, basically, right? So I've got my waypoints marked here. And again, if I go back to the color coding, whatever system makes sense for you, you don't have to do it like Jack is doing on this class. What a lot of people will do is they will do it by year. So especially for something like deer sign, if I was marking, let's say there was a really good scrape right here. I'm going to mark a waypoint. and you'd probably be doing this in the field on your phone. But let's say I found a scrape in 2024. I'm gonna name it 2024 scrape. And maybe my color for that year was black. You could do this a couple ways. You could say, I don't care what year it is. I want all scrapes and rubs to be the same color all the time. Maybe there was a rub on this tree right in the middle of the field. The guy was showing off. Rub. You could do that. You could do differences, different colors for those two. Or you could say, I want them all in 2024 to be black, and then 2025, I'm going to use green, and 2026, I'm going to use purple, whatever makes sense for you so that you can see the change over time. That's what a lot of guys at the office here do, is they color code it by year so that they can see, all right, man, in 2023 they were here, but in 2024 they weren't here. Why did things change 23, 24? Oh, well, maybe this field was planted in alfalfa in 23. In 2024, they plowed it under and they planted soybeans, and that changed things up, or whatever, the crops might be doing in your area. Maybe a fire went through, some of this state land. Maybe it was logged. You guys, you get the picture. So I've got some waypoints marked here. Let's say I want to share these with other people in my camp. Let's say I'm kind of the one who does all the work, and I'm, setting up the stands and doing the scouting. There's other guys. They need to know what's going on at the camp. That's where folders come in. So I'm going to go over to the left to my content, and I am going to scroll down. I've got a few folders here made already. This is just a test account that I use for testing different things. I'm going to click this button that says new folder. If you're watching on your phone, this is also in my content. Go down towards the bottom of your screen. You can make a folder there as well. Give the folder a name. This is in North Carolina. I'm just going to name it NC Deer Camp and hit save. So now I have this folder, but there's nothing in it. A couple of different ways to add content. If you already have a bunch of waypoints marked on your map, which I'm guessing a lot of people here do, the fastest way to add content all at once is to go down to the bottom here, bottom left corner of my screen, and click the Add Content button. Click on that, and now I can either just click these buttons here, and as I click them, you see those waypoints on my screen are highlighting in white, or I can just go here and click on them right on the map. So I've got all of those waypoints selected. I'm going to hit done. Now these are all added to my NC Deer Camp folder. Okay. So this is nice for a couple of reasons. If I want to just hide all of these waypoints, let me just go back. So I'm in my content. I have my NC Deer Camp folder. When I click on it, it's going to zoom me to that area where those waypoints are. And I can hide all of those on my map with the click of a button. So I mentioned earlier on my personal account, I think I'm at like 2,000 waypoints. And it's a lot. If I have them all turned on at once, especially if I'm looking at Western Montana where I live, it looks, like somebody dumped a whole bunch of sprinkles on my map or something. So part of the reason I personally will put my waypoints into folders based on species is so that I can turn them on seasonally or turn them off seasonally. So I have, in the spring, I hunt turkeys, and we have a spring bear season in Montana. I filled both my turkey tags this spring, lucked out and filled my bear tag. So I don't have any tags for turkeys or bears, that are carrying over to this fall. I've turned those folders off because I don't really care where my turkey and bear spots are. If I was still going to be bear hunting this fall, I would have that turned on if I was going to go chase bears. As it is, right now, I'm looking at elk and I'm looking at mountain grouse right now is what's occupying my headspace. So I have my elk waypoints turned on and I have my upland waypoints turned on. If I'm lucky enough to tag out on an elk this fall. I'll turn those waypoints off. Then I'm going to have my upland ones still on because I can hunt those every day of the season. And I'm going to have my deer ones turned on because that'll be the next big hunt I'm doing. If I draw pronghorn, which should come out here in a couple weeks, those draw results, I'll turn those back on. So that's the nice part about being able to hide these folders. And again, you might have just your tree stands on and you want to turn everything else off, or vice versa. You could group your deer camp. You could just put your tree stands in a folder and deer sign in a folder. And if you're running feeders or trail cameras, things like that, you could put them in the folder there. So you can toggle that on and off. If you have a whole bunch of other content that's cluttering up the map and you only want to see this stuff and turn everything else off at once, you can utilize this feature to only show that folder on the map. Word of caution though, we do talk to a lot of people. I shouldn't say a lot. We do hear from people from time to time that are freaking out a little bit because they think all of their waypoints got deleted. And what they did was they hid a bunch of them. So if you are going to hide a bunch of stuff on your map, just remember that you hid them and that you need to bring them back, so that you're able to see them again and they didn't get deleted. Another nice thing with folders is that you can share them. So I talked about, being able to collaborate a bit with other people in the camp. Some of you watching might have shared individual waypoints before. So if I wanted to show somebody where camp was, I could click share. I could, on a computer, it looks a little bit different than on a phone, but I could copy this link, copy and paste it into an email, a Slack message, a Facebook message, WhatsApp, whatever you use, and send it to my friend, send it to my hunting buddy, and they'll have that waypoint on their side. But if you have 100 waypoints you need to send to somebody, that's too much. You're not going to be wanting to send 100 text message with 100 different waypoints. Put them in a folder and then go in again to my content, NC Deer Camp, and hit share. What's new here with sharing a folder? Well, actually, let me back up. So when I share a folder, all of the waypoints that are in there, and if I add tracks later, for example, all of those will be shared with the recipient. What's new is we have two different ways to share now. The old way was view only. So right now, or previous years, if you shared a waypoint or shared a folder with somebody, it was view only for them. They couldn't do anything with that content. They couldn't share it with anybody else. They couldn't add to that folder. They couldn't make edits to it. Now, with this new contribute option, what's cool is you can make somebody a contributor to a folder if you'd like. So this is where the new sauce comes in here. You got a bunch of guys at deer camp, you've got a lease, whatever. Maybe you're planning an upland hunt or planning an elk hunt and you want everybody to be able to talk to each other. One person is the owner of the folder. So in this instance, Jack Headland, I'm the owner of the folder. So one person kind of has to take that on to be the owner. Then they can share with George and Tom and everybody else in the hunting camp or on your lease or that's going on your trip. So I'm going to hit share. I'm going to copy the link. Actually, let me do this. This is going to be easier if I show you on my tablet. I'm going to switch over to my tablet real quick. This will make more sense. So I'm going to pull this up on my iPhone. Here we go. Maybe. There we are. Actually, I'm going to need to refresh this. There we go. So I'm going to zoom over to North Carolina. So this is the same account. This is just on my tablet here. I'm going to go into my content, NC Deer Camp. This is on an iPad, so it's going to look a little bit different than if you're on a phone. I'm just going to Slack this to myself because this isn't a text-enabled tablet. I'm going to hit share. Now I have shared that whole folder with my personal account. All right. So I am going to go on my personal device here and accept that share. They'll need to accept the share. So I'm doing that right now. I have hit accept. So if I close out of this, it should now show, it has you and Jack shown. So I shared it with myself. It's going to show you everybody that it has been shared with once you click on that folder there. Now is if I go into, let me back up. So if I tap this arrow to the right of where it says you and Jack, it's going to show who's all there. I can manage access. So if I want to share something with somebody, but I don't want them to be able to add anything to the folder for whatever reason, you just want to send it to them, here you go. You can't do anything with it. I would make them a viewer. If I wanted them to be able to add content to that folder, I'm going to select contributor. You can do this person by person. You can make some people viewers and some people contributors if you'd like. You can change that at any time. Only the owner of the folder is able to grant those permissions. If I want to add members here, I can do that. It's the same flow as sharing. So on your phone, you'll have the option to text message this. That's the most common way people will share. So now on my personal account, I could go in and add a bunch of content. So let's just pretend it's me and my brother. This is a bit confusing because both of these accounts are mine. So in real life, myself, I'm from central Minnesota. We deer hunt northern Minnesota. I don't get back there a whole lot to be able to do any work at deer camp. My dad and brother do. So my brother will text me waypoints showing where he put tree stands up. Now, what we can do is my brother can make a folder for our northern Minnesota deer camp. He can add me as a contributor. Anytime he changes where a tree stand is or sees a rub or anything he wants to share with me, when he adds that to a folder, I'll see it on my end. When I'm up there, if there's anything I want to add to the folder, I can add a bunch of waypoints. I could even, e-scout from afar. I could go on my web map, look at a bunch of different areas, place some tree stand icons, and put them in there and text my brother and say, hey, I put a bunch of tree stand icons up at deer camp. Why don't you go check them out, see if they're worth putting a stand up at? So that he can go in and take a look and say, yep, these look like good spots. No, they don't, etc. What we're not able to do and what you won't be able to do is change another person's content. So if you're the owner of the folder, you put a whole bunch of markups on there, you own those markups. Everybody else can see them. They can't delete them or edit them or change the colors or anything like that, and vice versa. So if my brother adds a whole bunch of waypoints to the deer camp, I'm not able to go in and delete them or change them or share them with anybody else. All right. So what you put on there is yours. Nobody else can mess with it. One other thing the owner can do is if I want to add notes to this folder, only the owner can add notes, but you can use this to communicate. So let's say this is our deer camp. I can write notes in there and say, July 23, added some potential stand sites. Check them out and let me know what you think. Right now, this is just one-way communication. So my brother is not able to put notes in here to me. So it's just one way. But that's the way that, especially, a lot of hunting trips I've been on or deer camps I've been a part of, they're kind of, a lot of times there is that crew chief, that head of the party. So they can put that information in there. You're planning maybe a pheasant hunt with a bunch of people. You could mark off different areas and have different groups and say, hey, Bill's truck, you guys are going to this area tomorrow. Pat's truck, you guys are going to that area, and kind of be a little bit of a field marshal that way. I'm going to close out of this. And there we are. So another thing to mention with these collaborative folders, only the owner can share it with new people. So if you are a contributor or a viewer, you can't invite new people in. Only the owner is able to do that. And I did mention it before, only the people who created content can edit that content. So only you can edit your own content, only Katie can edit her content, for example. All right. Well, that's really the bulk of the presentation I had for everybody today. I'm going to go in. Looks like we have Q&A, quite a few questions in here. We're going to dive into those right now. I'm going to prioritize ones that have to do with the topic here first. If there are questions that are outside the realm of this deep dive, I'll try to get to them, but I'm going to answer the ones on organization and folders first. So Mike asked, how do you share a photo with someone, and does it matter if that person has an onX membership? So if I wanted to share a photo, let's say I took a picture of this tree stand here. I just tap on it. For those of you who don't know, if you go into edit, you can add a photo, 2 waypoints. This is a work tablet, doesn't have any pictures on it, but you can, take one that you've previously taken and add it in there, or, take one, hit take photo, and it'll take you to your camera app and attach a photo to the waypoint. The way to share that, Mike, is simple. It's the same as sharing a waypoint. So if you have a waypoint with a photo on it you want to share, tap on it, hit share, and send it to them that way. And if you're using collaborative folders and you have waypoints and you add photos to them, everybody else who's invited to that folder will be able to see them as well. Janet asked if there's more color options. What you see here is what you have available. So we have, 10 different color options. It's a request we get fairly often. Part of the reason we haven't added new colors in a while is very few people actually color code their waypoints like I recommend. So when our engineering team takes a look at it, they're like, they try to prioritize features that get used the most for improvements. So the more people that start using colors, that gives us, it's kind of the squeaky wheel gets the grease. The more people start using that and start asking for more colors, that gives us more juice to go get the engineering team to build some more colors in there. But right now, you are limited to those, 10 or so options. Sean asked, I see I can hide a folder on my map, but I don't see an option to only show a folder on my map. Is there a way to do that? There is. So if I go to NC Deer Camp, I can, that's one of the things I just learned. So you can hide it. On Web Map is your only option to only show that folder. We don't have that built out yet for the mobile app, but that's something I will request. So Sean, we do have that option. It's web only right now. Let's see. Scott asked, if you have many waypoints already and you do a search for a type and do a mass change of color or some other, I don't understand this question. If you have many waypoints already and you do a search for a type and do a mass change of color or some other feature if you want to categorize them. I'm not sure what's being asked there, Scott. My apologies. Let's see. Chris asked, can you make the icons a persistent color? I think what he means is, can you make the default color something other than, just the red X? Right now, no, Chris, it is going to default to that reddish orange color, but that's something I would find super useful as well. That's something I'll pass along to the engineering team. Let's see. Greg asked, can a waypoint exist in more than one folder? Yes, it can. Great question. You can add waypoints to as many folders as you want. For example, I have, last fall, I wasn't able to make a South Dakota pheasant hunt that I'd gone on with some buddies a couple years prior. And I had all kinds of waypoints where we'd found birds previously. And so I added them to my upland folder because I put all my pheasant spots in my upland folder. My buddy texted me and said, hey, since you're not going to be here this year, can you send me some of those waypoints of where we found birds last year? So instead of sending him all of my upland spots, because he doesn't care for, my Montana spruce grouse waypoints, he just wants the South Dakota ones. I went over to our area in South Dakota, took all of those waypoints, and then created a South Dakota pheasant folder, added them, sent them to my buddy. So yeah, a waypoint can be in more than one folder. That's not a problem. Garrett asks, when you share a folder, does it automatically update everyone's content if there are changes? Yes, Garrett. So anytime somebody goes in and changes or adds content to the folder, or maybe they deleted some of their own content, next time you open up your app, you'll see those changes reflected there. There's nothing manual you have to do to get it to sync up. It'll just be reflected the next time you log in or open up the app. David asked if there was a way to bulk edit waypoints. There isn't right now, David. That's a question we've gotten quite a bit. So I hear you. If you've already got a whole bunch of waypoints and they're plain red X's like I have on the screen, or they're not quite what you want, we don't have a great way to bulk edit them right now. I would recommend, if you are going to make a whole bunch of changes, try to do it on the web map on a computer if you can. I did this a few years ago because I was bad on not customizing my waypoints. And so I went in on my computer and edited them. And it took me an hour, or so, but it really wasn't too bad. Queued up a playlist and, and let's go and change the icons and the colors. Um, and made those edits. It is a little bit faster on your computer, but that's something that's been talked about, something hopefully we can have in the future to do a bulk edit. Carla asks, can they also see your notes? Yes. So if you have a waypoint with a bunch of notes on it and you share it and you add it to a folder, other people will be able to see those notes. So if you don't want them to see that information, you might have to leave it off. Otherwise, that is a great way to share information with people beyond just the waypoint. You can put some notes in there. I often use the example of, if we've got a lease, a hunting camp, and we need to do some work, you could put in a whole bunch of waypoints and say, there's a log across the trail that needs to be cut out here. There's a fence that needs to be mended there, a gate that needs to be replaced, a tree stand that needs to be, the strap needs to be fixed or something. So Be careful with your notes. If it's info you want people to see, it's great. If it's info you don't want people to see, you might have to leave it off. Michael asked if there are plans to implement dynamic tagging of waypoints into folders. Example, I want to find waypoints created between January 23 and December 23 that are color X or waypoint Y and auto add them. I see the use in that, Michael. That's something I can pass along as well. I think that would be a pretty, that's like power user of power user feature. So certainly useful. I don't want to set unrealistic expectations. I don't think that'll be something we'd be able to do in the immediate future, but maybe sometime down the road. Cecil asked, when I'm sharing folders, how do I send the file to someone? I'm missing part of the whole process. Let's go over it again. So I'm going to go into my content. I've got my folder here, NC Deer Camp. Along the bottom left-hand corner of my screen, there's a button that says share. Tap share, and then you have these options here for sharing. I'm on a tablet, I'm on an iPad here, so it's gonna look different than if it's on your phone. I have the option to mail it or Slack it. You'll have the option to text it as well, or if you have like Facebook Messenger downloaded on your app, you can share that way. Click the text message icon, select the contact or the phone number you want to text it to, and then it'll give you the option to share it there. Once you get that far, it'll make sense. James asks, is there a way to list all shares in one spot so I can go through the list and manage permissions in one spot? On a folder, yes. So I'm in my NC Deer Camp folder here. If I tap on the arrow, I've shared it with myself. That's my personal account there. You would see if you shared it with Tina and Jesse and George and everyone else, you'd see their names listed there, and you can remove from folder if you want to revoke their access. So it'll ask you if you remove them, any content they've added will no longer appear in the folder. They will still have a personal copy of everything they've added. I can do that. Now that folder, if I log into my personal account, I won't have access to that information anymore. Arlen asks, can you only share with others who have onX? No and yes, Arlen. So if you want to share with somebody that doesn't have onX, when they receive the message that you shared a folder with them, it will the phone will prompt them to download the onX app so that they can then see that content. There's no way for them to see the content without the app in which that content lives. But they don't have to have a paid membership. They can receive that information. They won't be able to do a whole lot in the app. You're going to want to get your friends set up with a membership anyways, or have them, get a membership. But they don't have to have it when they receive the share. The phone, their app store, it'll take them through the process of downloading the app. Once they log in, then they can receive that share and view that content. Let's see. David asked, is there a way to upload waypoints on a mobile device? Yes. So go into my content. So again, bottom of my screen. Again, on your phone, it's going to look a little different. This is a tablet. Tap import, and then it will take you to where you can pull that file from your phone and import it into your onX. So if you have waypoints from another mapping app or from a GPS or something, save them in a KML or GPX to your phone, hit import, select them, and you can import them into the onX app. Eric asked, is there a way to sort content within a folder? Right now, let me back up. Yes, you can, Eric. So it will default to by date added. So here's my folder. If I click Manage Content and expand the folder here, if you see in the kind of upper right-hand corner below where it says Filter List as Map Moves, there's some slider buttons. Tap there, hit Sort Order, and then you can go new to old to new, ascending or descending. So I can do them like that. That's the wrong one. I could do old to new, whatever you want. I'm going to go back so I don't get mixed up. There we go. James asked, can a waypoint be part of multiple folders? Yep, we answered that one. Ron asked, can the owner of a folder delete waypoints that a contributor put in the folder? No, they cannot. So only the owner of that content can delete waypoints. You can kick somebody out of a folder and that will delete all of their content from that folder for everybody else. Right now, since this is brand new, you're not able to do it kind of in onesies, twosies. It'd have to be kick them out or just live with the waypoints they put on there. So you might want to be, careful about who you share folders with. Cecil asked, to share, I assume you must have internet connectivity to do that. Yes and no. So there is a way to share without internet connectivity. It'd be via Bluetooth. So I'm just going to show you on a waypoint because it's a little bit simpler. If I wanted to share this waypoint with somebody, we didn't have service, I could click share. I double tapped it. I can click share and then share nearby. This will be via AirDrop on iOS devices. And forgive me, I don't know exactly what it's called on Android, but you would have to be within Bluetooth range of somebody, so 10 to 15 feet away. And it is device specific, so it has to be iPhone to iPhone, Android to Android, but you can share that way. Without internet connectivity, there's no way for the phones. It's a hardware issue, not a software thing. There's no way for the phones to communicate. So there'd be no way to get that information transferred from one to the other. Sean asked, are any of these features only available for only certain membership tiers? So to use collaborative folders, you have to have a paid membership, but it's not tiered out. It's available whether you have a premium membership or an elite. If you don't have a paid membership, you won't have access to create folders and mark waypoints. But this isn't like an elite only feature like some other things we have. This is for everybody with a current membership. Richard asks, how do you rename an existing folder? Let me go into my NC Deer Camp. Let me back out of here. I'm tapping my map too much. My content, NC Deer Camp. Tap on it. And along the bottom, it's kind of cut off. But if I scroll over, there's a button that says rename folder. So that's how you would do that, Richard. Jonathan asked, if you share a folder with me, can I save them down to my own account so I can edit the content? No, you can't, Jonathan. The owner of that content owns the content. There's a workaround for this. If somebody shares a bunch of waypoints and you want to be able to edit them yourself, what I would do, let's pretend somebody shared this waypoint with me and I can't edit it. What I would do is I would go in and just add my own waypoint right on the same spot or pretty close. And let's say I wanted to make it look like that. You could save it that way. You'd have to do it manually. But whoever owns the content, they own it, so that they know who it's shared with. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. Kyle asks, can you allow the trail cameras to the contributor person so they could move or edit the camera locations, or at least allow them to see the camera locations? So I think what Kyle's talking about here is our our trail camera feature. So right now, Kyle, trail cameras are not able to be added to collaborative folders. That is something I believe we'll be able to do in the future. Just for right now, since this is kind of the first version of collaborative folders, we just don't have that built in yet. Richard asked if you can make subfolders, not at this time, but hopefully in the future. Anna asked if you can share the map with someone without the app. You can't. I don't know how that would work. They need to have the app to be able to view the map. So they do have to have it. It is a free download. So if you want to share something with somebody and they don't want to pay for it, they can download the app and start a trial for free. They don't have to pay anything and they can still receive some shares, but they won't be able to do too much else in there. Garrett asks, is there a way to remove duplicates? There is. You just have to go in manually and delete them. So it's the same process of deleting any, if I wanted to, let's say this rub icon, I can hit remove from folder, or I can just delete that waypoint icon. That would be the way to do that. The app isn't smart enough to know, hey, this is a duplicate. There's no real way for us to know, hey, this is a duplicate waypoint. So you do have to do that manually. Mike says, I was a little late. Where can I find this recording? We'll email you the YouTube link tomorrow, Mike. It'll also be uploaded to the onX Hunt Masterclass playlist on the onX Hunt YouTube channel. So if you go to the onX Hunt YouTube channel tomorrow, probably late morning, it takes a little bit to upload. Late morning, it'll be on that playlist. Otherwise, just look for that email tomorrow evening. Robert asked if you can customize waypoint icons. Yep, we talked about that a bunch. Arlen asked, what makes a folder collaborative? So the difference, Arlen, is whether other people are able to add content to it. So right now, if I shared a folder with somebody, but it wasn't collaborative, they wouldn't be able to add content that I would then see on my end. So if it's a collaborative folder and you have 10 different people that are collaborators, everybody can see what the other 9 people are doing in there. Without that, there's no real back and forth communication there between everybody. Let's see. Man, questions are coming in faster than I can answer them. So I'm still going to get to a few questions. I want to drop the giveaway link in the chat. And I want to pull this back up. Give me a second. So I am going to turn off the chat right now, just so that everybody can find this link. I've got the giveaway link in the chat for some hats we're giving away here. Let me share my screen so you can see what they look like. So we're giving away a bunch of these onX hats. We're giving away 10. Go to this link that's on my screen. It's also in the chat. It's the bottom post on the chat there. So you can find it there. And some people do have trouble with the giveaway link. Some phones don't let you click on it. There's like security features. You might have to copy and paste it or write it down. Giveaway link will be live until midnight tonight. Let's see. Some of these questions I've answered. Talked about bulk editing. Dennis asked, if I share a trail with somebody that does not have onX, what, if anything, can they do? They'll have to download the app, Dennis, and then they'll be able to view that trail. That's all they'll be able to do. They can see it, but they can't edit it or do anything else. Glenn asked, so the engineering team can monitor all our content per your comment about color usage. Is this true? No. We can't see your content. We can't access your content. That is safe. What we're able to see is how many people have changed a color. That's what, we'd be able to see of, hey, since we've had different color waypoint icons, how many people have changed a color on their waypoint? We can't see where they are. We can't see what you name them. We can't see, any of the specific information. The information we're able to see is real general, just to be able to track, hey, are people using this feature? Does it make sense to people, or do we need to change how it's done to make it easier for people to use? Jim asked, is my content shared across onX Hunt, onX Off-Road, onX Backcountry? It is not, Jim. Your content is specific to the app you created. And so if you have onX Hunt and onX Off-Road, they are separate apps. Your content doesn't cross over. Cole asked if you can put your tracked hikes into a folder. Yep, any tracks you've run, any markups you make on the app, be it a shape file, an area shape, a track, a line, a waypoint, those can all be added to a folder. Angela asks if you have to create a hunt area in order to add waypoints to a folder. Nope. I didn't do anything with hunt areas on this demonstration. That's a whole different kind of ball of wax. We might do a class on hunt areas in the future, but think of hunt areas and folders as kind of separate. Let me see. We're coming up on an hour here. I said we were going to try to keep this to a half hour, 45 minutes. I want to just pick a few more questions. I'm not going to be able to get to everybody's. I apologize. I do want to mention, if you have, a question I wasn't able to answer tonight, our customer support team will be able to help you out. Their email address is help@onxmaps.com. So if I'm not able to get to your question and it's really burning at you, email us help@onxmaps.com and we can get that answered for you. A few questions here about elite members. You can add people that aren't elite to these folders. They just have to have the app, basically. So premium and elite members folders work the same whether you're premium or elite. John asks, I'm not familiar with the term Slack. Can you answer my question, please? John, Slack is it's a messaging tool used by businesses. I just use that because that's what we use here. If you don't know what Slack is, don't worry about it. Another question for subfolders. We'll try to make them. Can you see who created shared waypoints? Yeah, when a waypoint is shared with you, it will tell you who the owner was who created. It'll say created by John F. or whoever. Julian asked, if I don't pay for my account for a certain amount of years and come back and subscribe, will I be able to recover old data? Yes. If you let your account lapse, if your membership expires, we don't delete your waypoints or anything. That would be pretty mean. So your account information, all that stuff's there. When you resubscribe, all that information will still be there. Norm asked, is there a limit number folders that can be added? Is there a limit to the number of folders that can be added? No limit. You can make as many folders as you want. Of course, the more folders you create, at a certain point, it kind of defeats the purpose. If you have 800 folders, then you're going to have trouble keeping track of them. But there's not a set limit where we only allow you 10 folders or something like that. Let's see. Dennis asked if there was a way to merge two tracks. Not at this time. I don't know the technology behind that, if it's possible or not. But that's something we might be able to do if, I'll run that by the engineers. Let's see. Um, Richard asked, does hiding folder content improve system performance? It can. So if you're talking, Richard, about like maybe the app loading a little slowly or something like that, if you have a lot of content showing, hiding it can improve it. Mostly what'll improve it the most is tracks. So if you think about a waypoint is just one point, a track is many hundreds to thousands of points to create that track. So one track takes up a lot more processing power than a waypoint does. So if you are noticing like a little bit of lag in your map speed and you have a lot of tracks listed on your map, hiding those can improve the performance there. Let's see. There's a few in here I think I have time for still. Robert asked if you can add videos to waypoints. Not at this time, only photos, Robert, but maybe some point in the future. I think that does get into a little bit of what the last question was talking about of lagging map performance. You wouldn't be necessarily viewing the photo or the images on the map. We'd have to be able to do the videos in a way that it was still performant, but that's something we might be able to do in the future. Number of questions. This will be the last one. Number of questions of people how to share content from onX Hunt to onX Backcountry or onX Off-Road or onX Fish. What you would have to do to share across platform to a different onX app would be to export your waypoints or your content. I recommend doing this on your computer. It's easiest there. Export um, that file to your account or to your computer, save that file, open up onX Backcountry or Off-Road or the other onX app you're using, import that file, then you're going to see those icons in whatever other onX app you're using besides onX Hunt. All right. Again, I apologize. I wasn't able to get to everybody's questions. If you do have a burning question, our email address, help@onxmaps.com, is the place to go for that. And please check out future masterclasses. We've got a whole bunch coming up in August and into September, October. We're going to get into some like species specific. I know we have an e-scouting for elk class. I'm going to try to get some deer, some upland birds, some of that stuff rolling as well. And you are going to get a survey at the end of this class. If you wouldn't mind filling that out, let us know what you want to see in future classes. That helps us schedule new ones and get interesting guests and things like that. So again, thanks for joining tonight, everybody. Get entered to win that hat if you haven't already, and hope to see you on a future class.